All right, well, it's back. As you recall, I worked on this one. This one has some transmission issues. We flipped it, and I changed the oil, the transmission oil. It needed a new belt, put a new transmission filter on it, and cleaned it up, painted the hood, got a seat cover for it, set it up here with a for sale sign on it, and it sat here probably less than a week and it sold. I didn't get as much out of it as I wanted, but it was a fair amount. Well, the guy called me up 15 minutes after he bought it. I delivered it and said the belt broke. And I went back and forth in my head about whether this was my responsibility or not. And I thought, you know, 15 minutes, that's got to be on me. So I brought the machine back. I wasn't sure if I had to take the deck off or not. I wasn't sure what belt it was. These PTO decks have two belts. There's the drive belt that comes from the PTO. I'm kind of holding it right here. And then there's the blade belt, which is underneath it. Well, the drive belt, you don't have to take the deck off. It just you can fish it through here, and you got to take this off, but that's it. So we waited for days to get that belt and put it on, took it back to him. Now, when I was over there, he said he was using his brush hog, and I could see what he was using on. I mean, the grass was just 3 foot tall. It was quite thick. Now, he was very interested in the power and the size of this mower. I mean, this thing's a monster. It's a 22 horsepower mower with a 50-inch deck. But that doesn't mean you can cut tall grass with it. It just means it can cut a wider swath. You still got to maintain your yard. Otherwise, get a brush hog. So he resumed, I guess the next day. He started cutting again the next day. Well, that night, he messaged me and says, the deck is way off level. There's something seriously off level about it. Well, I mowed the grass over here. I said that in a previous video. There was nothing off level. So I didn't know what to do. Now, the last time I talked about this mower and this belt, a lot of people said, don't you know what as is means? No, I'm a moron. I have no idea what that means. I mean, what is as is? As is what? Huh? As is? Well, of course I know what as is. And by law, if I don't want to have a limited liability or implied liability or warranty, I guess it's implied warranty is what it's called, I have to list it as is. But as is does not help customer satisfaction. I can yell as is all day. Well, you bought it, it's your problem. And then this guy, who's fairly popular in the area, would start telling all his friends, well, don't use that guy, don't buy his mowers. He sells junk. I mean, I had it 15 minutes, the belt broke. He didn't look at the belt. So that would mean that I would end up going out of business because nobody's going to use me because I sold it as is. Don't you know what as is means? So you try to figure out what limited warranty you can give so you can get repeat business and you have a good reputation. That's important. So don't you know what good reputation is? So I said that in that video. Well, he called back after he mowed his field, brush hogged it with this thing, and said it was off level. And I could see where this was heading, that he was thinking I was going to be his personal mechanic for this thing for the rest of its life. And when it was done, I was still going to have to, you know, let him, you know, take some money from me or something. I could just see that he was really seeing this as never had to, you know, do a repair again. You know, was he going to make me change his oil once a year? I don't know. So people are like that. For example, Toro, I know for sure, I don't know about the other companies, but I know for sure Toro has a warranty. They'll guarantee, you know, you can get the extended plan and the whole thing, and you can take it over their certified dealers and they'll repair a lot of things that are manufacturing defects. But if you take it in there because you left gas in the carburetor over the winter, They won't repair that. You got to buy that. And so the question is, was the belt my fault or his fault? And it was cut. It was clearly there. A stick got up in there and cut it. But I'd already ordered it. I already told him I'd take care of it. So I replaced the belt. So he messages me. I keep getting off track here. And he says, it needs leveled. And I said, well, okay, I can level it, but I can also give you your money back and just give you a refund for the mower. Because, I mean, how many times am I going to have to go over there and do these things? So he didn't reply back that night. The next day, about noon, he finally replied and said, yeah, I'll go ahead and take the refund. So I said, okay. So I went back over there, and he allowed me to knock off 20 bucks off the refund because, you know, he used it. He had it down at the end of the driveway where I could load it up. There's a little ditch there that I could back the truck into. And I looked up underneath it, and it was obvious what was wrong with it. The first thing I noticed was this bracket here had fallen down. Now, I know you can't really see what's going on. It's hard to see. But what it was is a cotter pin had fallen out. So, or an R pin, or whatever you want to call it. So, the problem I was having was that controls side-to-side movement. So that shouldn't have made this side fall down, which it did. It was on the ground. The wheels were on the ground. The other side was up. So I shook it a little bit more and realized this bracket right here wasn't connected. And again, the R pin had fallen out. So, I mean, I had some in the truck, in a little coffee can of bolts and nuts and different things I have. I grabbed them and put them on there, and I put it in the truck. Well, he walked down and said, do you work on ATVs? Which I don't work on ATVs. I said, well, it was just missing a couple of cotter pins. Really? That's it? Boy, you got off cheap. I'm thinking, how did I get off cheap? I bought you a new belt. So I brought it back home, and it was just completely covered in dust. It was terribly dusty. So I started inspecting things, see what was broke, what was going to need replaced. Well, that belt I just replaced had a cut in it. It's not damaged so bad it can't be used. It still can be used, but there's a cut in it. So he's picking up sticks while he was mowing and got it wrapped around the spindle and the belt cut. So, I mean, I don't regret what I did. I'm glad I bought it back, because I would have just always been over there working on this thing. He was mistreating it and expected me to be able to take care of it. I've got a for sale sign on it, and so now I'm going to sell it for the price. I'm at least going to try to sell it for the price that I got out of it. Now, he did give me a full tank of gas, so there's $6. That's a good deal. There's 2 gallons of gas in there. So I might even try to siphon some of that out. That way that gas doesn't have to sit over here over the winter, and I can either run it in the generator or put it in the truck, either one. So that's a little bit of a savings. That kind of takes the sting out of that $10 I had to buy the belt for. But I don't regret what I did. Here's the thing. I don't know how to avoid this problem. I'm sure this is going to be a reoccurring problem. I remember the first job, I don't know, maybe not the first job, but the first job when we restarted this business up this last spring, the lady wanted me to come over to her house, and I really didn't want to go off-site. She insisted, so we did. And I got over there, and she what did she want? She wanted a belt put back on. Well, the belt was destroyed. So I had to order a belt. So I said, well, I'll take it back to the house. No, just leave it here. Well, then, as I'm putting the deck back on, it was obvious half the blade, the thing that goes around, was gone. It was just missing. Maybe not half, but a good portion of it. So, I mean, it was totally off balance. So I was gonna have to order blades. So, get back over there. We get all that put on, and she says, well, I got this mower here that I want you to work on. And then when you get that fixed, you can keep that one and sell it for the price of the repair of this push mower, or this riding mower. So she wanted to give me a push mower. Oh, no, I need cash. I mean, when you think about this exchange labor for equipment thing, it is quite the ripoff. So let's say I worked an hour on that riding mower, and I bought parts. And so let's say with labor and parts, I'm up 75 bucks. And so she gives me this push mower, and now I got to put more labor and parts in. Let's say it's another 75 bucks of labor and parts. So that's $150 between the two mowers. That push mower is going to sell for $150. So I didn't make any money off of the two jobs. So I'm not a big fan of working for equipment because no one considers the labor. They just, like, well, you're getting this great lawnmower. Well, it doesn't even run. At least what I'm giving you ran. But anyway, after I said no, we took it for a test drive, and the carburetor started gushing gas. So I had to take carburetor off, clean the carburetor, get it to stop gushing gas. So she hems hauls around and finally gives me the money that's owed to me. She says, well, can you take this push mower home and fix it up anyway? So I take it home, fix it up, and she says, I'll be over to pick it up when it's done. I said, okay, great. So I told her it was done. She said, okay, I'll be over tomorrow. Well, then tomorrow comes around and she says, I can't pick it up, I don't have the money, so next week I'll come by and pick it up. Oh, great. So she calls me or messages me the next week and says, can you bring it over to my house? I don't have a way to pick it up. And I said, no, you said you were going to pick it up. I've already got my schedule full. So she comes over, and you could tell she's upset that she had to come pick it up. And I said, you know what, just forget about it. Pay me for the part, $25. Don't worry about the labor, and we'll call it good. She didn't have the $25. She had 20. So she wasn't going to pay me, is the point. She wasn't going to pay me. She came all the way over to pick up the mower and wasn't going to pay me. She had 20 bucks. So yeah, I don't know how to handle this, where people are going to try to scam you. Of course, I could keep the mower, but in this case, this was a guy who needed a brush hog and was trying to figure out how to get around it for free. Now, I know that the zero turn guys, you know, the guys who go around mowing everybody's yard with zero turns, are charging like $100 for a lot. You know, we got lake lots around here, and they're packed in like sardine boxes. I mean, it's crazy. You got these $1 million mansions packed in just as close as you can get it. These guys are coming around with zero turns charging $100. I worked on the mower over the summer, and it took a long time and needed an engine rebuild. And she had someone come over and mow her grass, and it was $150 while I was fixing her mower. So they're expensive. So this guy needed a brush hog. So let's say that was going to be $200-300 to get his field brush hogged. Well, it was a lot cheaper, if you really think about it, to buy a mower and then list out 1 million problems with it, imply that I was going to get a bad reputation if I didn't fix his mower, and then ask for the money back. So I guess I don't know how I'm going to handle this for reputation. I understand as is. Don't you know what as is? Yes, I do. But do you know what reputation is? So I need to keep my reputation, but I also, in this case, it wasn't catastrophic. Nothing happened. So he basically rented it for free for a week and 1 day. Nothing gained, nothing lost. It's got a new belt on it, which has a cut in it now. So I wish I had a conclusion for you on this video. I like to try to come up with a conclusion, but I don't have one this time. It was just a bad deal. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I think I'll link something about that video, lawnmower up to it. So hope I can inspire you, I guess, to get through the bad times so you can enjoy the good times when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.